on, what a difference a day makes. 24 little hours. Welcome back to Pommy and Us. I hope we're all doing really well. And what we're doing today is we're going to preview the GWS versus Carlton game. So last week, obviously, we played the Collingwood Magpies. I was up and about, you were up and about, we all were up and about, and it didn't quite give us the result we wanted. And we have to move on. Unfortunately, we can sit here and deliberate of why it went wrong. This should have been done, that should have been done, but facts are football is a quick turnaround, particularly with this COVID-y season. COVID-y season, is that an adjective now? Probably is. And we've got to move on, and we've got to look towards something, because if we stay in the doldrums, we're never going to get better. Now, obviously, we know that the Collingwood and that GWS is genuinely that type of game that Carlton fans, we don't look forward to. These guys have had the wood on us for so freaking long, and they kind of, when we play them, everything goes wrong. It's just a capitulation. Last couple of games have been over 90 points. You had that 16-man loss that we had against them. That was shit as well. And it's a tough one. And obviously we're at the Gabba, where we've only won, I believe it's 1 in 7 as well at the Gabba. So it makes it a real hard ass. When you look at both of these sides, there isn't much that you can chip away at them and say one side is astronomically better than the other. When you look at the core stats, both sides average 62 for. Both sides similar against as well, 61 and 62 in GWS's favour. Both sides have within 15 of the same disposals. Very similar disposal efficiency, both in the good category of over 68% to 70. Uncontested possessions, your inside 50s, your efficiency inside 50, your tackles and your clearances. These are all real similar. And when you look at this game on paper, it's a game that says to me that it's going to be who wants it more, which sometimes, worries me about our Blue Boys. Of when they want something, do they have the application to do it? There is a couple of things that when I look at this game on paper, and it worries me, it's that midfield of GWS, and there is talk that Cripper's not going to be there. Now, if Cripper's not going to be there, you're obviously going to have an issue with clearances. It's going to be... He is a clearance beast. There is no getting away from it. It's his strong suit, his ability around the ball. But on the flip side of the coin, there is Matty de Boer there for them. And Matty de Boer, for me, is one of them players that you kind of eradicate your best player when you're playing. So for me, it's going to be interesting this game that if Cripper is out, how Setterfield responds. He's been really, really good recently, and he's really impressed me. Against his old club, he's going to have a lot of that responsibility on his young shoulders. And when you look at how GWS play, it's about that outside run. If you can get your outside run going and not allow them to get their chains going, you're usually in a good place. If you look at them, they're one of the sides that stop handballs. They're very, very man-on-man heavy. If you look at how Cameron plays his side, he likes to man up. They are one of the best sides, and the second best side in the comp, at restricting movement by hand. And that is a real key for Carlton, because we don't predominantly use a lot of handballs. We are one of the most kick-heavy sides. And if they're playing a very high, intense game, and that's how defensively they structure, they play more of a one-on-one defence, as opposed to a lot of the other clubs that are more this flexible zone. It's a very in vogue word. So what I'll be looking for this game, I'll be looking for us to look for spread, look to get a game style that is very kick heavy. I'll be looking for us to get the ball moving very quickly. It's a side that doesn't seem to transition very well, and it's a side that's kind of like us in the terms of it looks for that intercept and it looks to work it off halfback very quickly. We know that Lockie Whitfield and Zach Williams, he's back in touch as well. When Lockie Whitfield and him spend a bit of time in that halfback flank, very hard to stop because they transition the ball so fluently and so quickly. So it's going to come down to an element of forward pressure and really looking to take their structure and use their structure to our advantage. And that's looking for the kick out the back, to run hard into space, to use space really well. I think an area that we can trouble them is in the forward line. And I didn't think Freo last week did this very well. They were missing some key personnel down back. And I didn't think they used their tools very well. If you look at how their defence formulates a turnover, it's quite often looking for spoils and looking to bring the ball down and getting the ball moving by foot out of the back line before you have a chance to reset. Now, usually I would say that spells chaos for our football club, especially based on last week where our transition was really woeful from attack to defence. But I like that because we've got Jack Martin, you've got Mickey Gibbons, you've got Zach Fisher, you've got Eddie Betts. Two of them blokes for me in the last 6 weeks have been the best crummers in the competition. So for me, that is where it's going to be really important. If we get Mitch McGovern back for this game, which I expect him to come, I expect to be seeing Harry and Mitch really looking to bring that intensity and take the matchup in the fact that they are going to have the height advantage. It's going to be a real important thing of our efficiency inside 50. Both sides have not been on point with this, and that is going to be something that's going to be really integral, I think. I think how Mitch McGovern and how Harry can really combine, because we're going to need them to clunk marks. One of the issues you've got with GWS is they use the ground really well. They use outside run, off half-back and on the wings, and they kind of run you into the ground. Now, when you look at our fourth quarters and our third quarters, this has been something that's been heavily debated. And there's going to be a graphic up on screen just showing you some things that I want you to look at. When people talk about are our third and fourth quarters worse, and is it a fitness issue, I genuinely don't think it is, because I look at our side and I think we run the games really well into the ground. I think the biggest issue for me is I think it's aptitude. I think it's up here, because if you look there, Brendan Bolton, so you look at the first half, you look Carlton average 3 goals, 2 behind with Bolton in the first quarter, 2 goals, 2 behind in the second, and then you look at David Teague, 2 goals, 2 in the first, 3 goals, 3. So you can see that good teams usually finish a half well, and you can see that's where Teague has definitely improved. You can see it's almost the same, but you can see there that we do have a higher efficiency in the second quarter going into that break. It's a very important place. Now, this is where I thought it was interesting. The third quarter for Bolton in his era was 3 goals, 2 again. Carlton, though, it's 2 goals, 3, and the fourth quarter exactly the same, 3 goals, 2 goals, 3 goals, 2. And for me, that kind of tells the tale of the tape. We're having a lot more inside 50s than we've ever did under Bolton. That has increased by about 12%. However, the scoreboard pressure hasn't. And I think that that is more of a mental application than it is skill level. There's no doubt this game plan, this is just the goal scoring numbers. I can show you the numbers for the game plan. The game plan from Teague to Bolton is chalk and cheese. It is astronomically superior the way we play. However, there is 2 issues I've got, and we rely really heavily on transition and turnover football. And Bolton, we didn't rely on that. We did score organically, not quite often, but it was a very organic goal scoring method. And okay, it didn't get probably the chocolates it warranted. However, when you look at Teague, this year it's really hard to pinpoint goals we've scored organically without having to turn the ball over. We do struggle when teams defend against us in a very, very 18-man behind the ball style. That has been a real success against Carlton. If you really get players back and you pack that defensive 50, and nowadays teams can do that. They can pack their defensive 50 and transition so quick. That's where we struggle, and that is something that I think keeps them stats in the Bolton class in the third and fourth, because teams genuinely look to drop really deep and then hit you on the counter. And if you watch Collingwood, they did that really well against us. They soaked up the pressure. Darcy Moore had how many intercept marks? It was ridiculous. 6 in the third quarter alone he had of just uncontested marks in the defensive 50. That is unacceptable in AFL level. And one thing that I have always commented and said that I'm proud of our boys is our forward craft, our forward pressure. And that wasn't quite there. And that is where this week is going to be super important, because you've got players like Whitfield, you've got players like Williams. These guys can hurt you down back. Even Heath Shaw to an extent, even though he's cracking on, still hits targets. If you allow that transition, it's going to be really important. So for me this week, I'll be really looking really hard at how McKay and McGovern link up with Martin and Betts and Zach Fisher. Zach Fisher looks in form. Martin looks a little bit innocuous at the moment. Didn't quite get into the game in the second half, and I expect him to have a big game. And that is where the battle's going to be won, I think. Our forward line versus their back line. It's going to be Smalls versus Smalls. And I think this week you're going to see that. It's going to be their outside run in the midfield, our outside run. Murphy and Walsh versus their solid outfit. There's so many because you've got Whitfield that slots in there. Coggy slots in there. Toby Green goes back down there. You got Taranto, you got Hopper. That midfield, just that quartet there, is really elite. It's really elite. And even though there's potentially no Kelly this week, for me, that is where it's going to come down to. It's going to be really using that outside run that we do now have. And a lot's going to rely on Walsh's young shoulders. He was one player that I picked out for special praise last week. Final quarter had the same amount of touches and the same efficiency as old Scott Pendlebury. I'm going to call him young there. It's going to be really interesting. And I think I'll give us a chance here. I'm still smarting from the Collingwood game and I'm still hurting. But I don't see Cripper being out as a bad thing for me. I actually think that's going to be a really, really good, positive thing for this football club. In the terms that Setterfield for me has really stepped up. Matt Kennedy's going to have a wonderful opportunity. It's going to really, if Paddy Dow plays, really showcase his ability. And for me, I'd like to see Paddy Dow go onto the wing where Murphy is. I think give him some easy ball in the terms of he can utilise his pace. And okay, his kicking efficiency isn't crash hot. You've got to remember it's not astronomically bad. I can name you 1,000 players that have worse disposal efficiency by foot than Paddy Dow. For me, I want to see that. I want to see them really take the game on. This game is a game for me that if I'm on my hand on hearts, I said 4 out of 5 against Collingwood. This was the game I had us losing. This is a team that statistically has the wood on us. And this season for me now, I'm personally shelving finals. So now it's about squaring ledgers around. And this is a team that we're going to have to beat. If we're going to be a finals team, if we're going to win flags, we're going to have to beat the likes of GWS. And they have the mental wood on us. So this week it's about going out and playing with a bit of freedom, playing with a bit of passion. None of this bollocks talk about we'll go down fighting. Screw that. We're going to play our way and we're going to implement it, because we keep hearing Teague saying about playing our way. The way you do that is you enforce it. You have to enforce it. And the team are going to always, when they play us, because ours is a very high intense brand of football, they're always going to set up deep and will try and transition and get us on the counter. It's going to be we're going to see that for probably the next decade while T's a coach. That is going to be the blueprint of beating our football club. Looking to hit us over the back. Look us to catch us out on transition. Collingwood did that well. So for me, it's about squaring this ledger. It's about getting rid of any mental ailments that Collingwood and that GWS have somehow got the wood on Carlton Football Club. And it's about going out there, playing a fast-paced brand, and playing them at their own game. These two sides play very similar styles of football. And it's about getting the ball on the outside and trusting yourself and backing it. And that is what I'm excited about. I'm excited about that. And for me, the third and the fourth quarters will come if we expand our game. For me, I think we go into our shelves in the third and fourth quarter. A lot of our primary ball losers really do struggle at that point in time. And for me, it's about finding new ball users and that. Utilise the skill level of Martin. Utilise the skill level of Walsh. And if Cripper's not there, that's what I'm kind of excited about. This third and fourth quarter, someone's going to have to step up who's not a household brand name. And it's going to pay them back next year. Next year it'll pay them back. If they do it this week, it's paying them back because they've done it now. That's my preview of the game. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. My gut is telling me that this game is going to be an arm wrestle. And I reckon whoever wins will win by 12. We won't have a blowout. I think it's going to be a couple of goals victory. Let me know who you guys think. My predictions for 3-2-1, I'm going to say 3 Walsh, 2 McKay and 1 Martin. Let me know your guys and girls predictions. I'd love to hear from it. As always, Pom is out.